All right, everybody, what is going on? Good afternoon. It is Conference Championship Sunday. I'm watching the Patriots-Broncos game over here to my right. Interesting game so far, by the way. Definitely some notable things happening so far, but obviously, if you're a Seahawks fan, you're pretty locked in on the game that's going to be starting in a few hours. And I understand that everybody's just thinking about what's going on with that game right now. But before we get there, I do have a little something I want to talk about in the news as it pertains to the Seattle Seahawks. We're talking about Klint Kubiak here. And you guys know that Klint Kubiak has been a very successful coach for the Seahawks this year, coordinator, offensive coordinator, the best offensive coordinator we've had in a while. And there's a lot of interest over what he's going to do next. And we know that there's been a lot of interest in him as a head coach. And we also know a lot of the head coaching openings are closing. So let's take a look at this. All right, guys, before we go any further into this video, let's take a minute so I can tell you about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using Sleeper this year for daily fantasy, then you are missing out. Download the app and get ready to have more fun with sports this year. Make all kinds of picks on over-unders. Get on over there. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever your sports fancy is. I've got some picks going for this week, the conference championship games. I got the over on Cooper Kupp, 30.5 receiving yards. I got Ken Walker scoring an anytime touchdown. I got Mevis over on the Rams kicking at least 2 field goals. And I got Drake May with the under on 227 passing yards. So get on over to Sleeper. Use promo code SBN, that is SBN, to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100 and go have more fun with sports this year. Okay, so we got this tweet here from Seahawks Wired, and the original source is Tony Pauline, who is a what is she? A draft analyst at Essentially Sports, or excuse me, he. But according to him, the Seahawks are putting on a full court press to keep offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak in Seattle. And we also have this tweet from JPA Football, putting a full court press. So that phrase is getting used multiple places to keep OC Klint Kubiak in Seattle. The actual quote from Tony is, multiple sources tell me that the Seahawks are putting on a full court press to keep Kubiak on staff. It's an interesting dynamic that could take a while to play out, depending on whether or not the Seahawks season continues past today. So I don't think that it's a particularly big surprise that the team wants to keep him because of how good he's done this year. But now we see maybe they're willing to extend themselves a little bit to make sure that it happens. So obviously, as a Seahawks fan, and I do think that if you're a Seahawks fan, you should understand why this would be a good thing. Kubiak has had one of the best years any offensive coordinator has ever had in Seattle. We broke a franchise record for points scored. We built, it took most of the season to really get there, but we ended up building the exact kind of offense that we wanted to build this offseason. And we did it with an offense that is the cheapest in football. I think that's important to keep in mind here. We have spent practically nothing on this offense. Literally the cheapest. Most of our money offensively is tied up in players that are not here right now. So what could he do with a second season to implement his system? What could he do with more money to spend on better players? What could he do with another offseason to bring in new rookies and new veterans in free agency, knowing that, yeah, he could lose some players. He could lose a Ken Walker. We know he's going to lose a Zach Charbonnet because of the injury for at least a lot of next season. But now you've got a full season of Rashid Shaheed next year, maybe. Now maybe you're moving on from Cooper Kupp, who was good this year, but obviously wasn't some game-breaking, dynamic ultra talent. Not anymore, not at this point in his career. So what could Kubiak do in a second year with more resources and more time? He could probably do something really special and maybe put together the league's best offense. He was not that far off from it in 2025. So I would like to keep him. I think that as recently as a couple weeks ago, I would have said it was almost impossible to imagine keeping him. He got interviewed by 6 different teams as a head coach. Well, 4 of those teams have now hired a different guy. And the two teams that are left are the Raiders and Cardinals, two of the more hopeless teams in football right now. Like the Raiders, they've got a couple of blue chippers, but they don't have a quarterback. They're locked in basically to drafting Mendoza, who I don't think fits Kubiak's scheme at all. And they've got cap space, but it's not a great ownership situation. And it's a team that has been hopeless for basically a quarter century. And the Cardinals are probably even worse. They've got a blue chip tight end. They've got a blue chip wide receiver, maybe. A couple of interesting guys on defense, but they don't have a quarterback. They don't really have a way to get a quarterback this offseason because they don't draft high enough and there aren't enough quarterbacks in this draft. It's rough right now, and you're in the toughest division in football if you're Arizona. So it's not an ideal circumstance right now. Like if Kubiak could have gone to the Falcons, that's one thing. Like if you get to go to that team, that's a team that's actually pretty good. They've got a lot of blue chip talent. There's a lot of stuff to build offensively. But if you're choosing between the Raiders and Cardinals, you might want to say no. So I don't know what a full court press looks like. I don't know what that really means. I don't know if it means we're going to pay him a ridiculous amount of money, which by the way, you can do because there's no salary cap for coaches. You can just say, hey, we're going to give you 5 million, 6 million, 7 million a year to stick around as OC. And that would be commensurate with what you're getting as a head coach on another team in all likelihood. Teams like the Raiders, I don't think they're going to make Kubiak a $10 million a year coach. Remember, McDonald's set the record for a first-time head coach last year at like $9 million a year. I don't think Kubiak is going to beat that based off of one good year. So I don't know, man. Maybe you give him a little more personnel control in the offseason on how to build the roster, which is obviously something that you want to kind of give him a little bit of power over anyway, and probably isn't something that you would view as all that compromising. So I don't know what the full court press looks like. Maybe this is a DeAndre Jordan thing where we're going to lock him in his house. I don't know. But this is definitely notable. We're not going to let him go without a fight. We're not going to just let him go away. Obviously, he deserves the opportunity to be a head coach after the season that he's just had. But that doesn't mean we don't want him. And personally, I'm hoping we find a way to make it work out. If the Raiders, and I'll mostly say the Raiders, like, to me, the Cardinals, Browns, those are two places that Kubiak might just turn down. And maybe he would turn down the Raiders, but I don't know. I think that's a better situation than Arizona. Cleveland might be the worst situation in football. Clearly, nobody wants to coach there. The Bills would be interesting, but the Bills have not interviewed him yet. Remember, the Bills, they didn't have a chance to interview him because they didn't fire McDermott until after the divisional round. So they're a little bit behind the 8 ball there, and it seems like they really want Brian Daboll. But we'll see where things go, man. But we're not gonna just let this one go, man. So I like it. I hope it works. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Another video coming in like an hour, and see you soon.